One of the most disappointing stories of 2022 has to be HAAS and how they treated Mick Schumacher. The young German driver was left without a starting seat for the 2023 season, even though the public opinion was that he deserved at least one more year with HAAS. However, fate had different plans for Schumacher, as the youngster is going to have the exclusive chance of learning from one of the best to ever do it in this sport, Lewis Hamilton. After being signed as Mercedes' reserve driver, Schumacher spoke about what lies ahead for him and the progress he's already made in the short time he's been with the Silver Arrows. Mick Schumacher is the F2 champion for 2020, which is why everyone was hyped up to see how he would perform in F1. And rest assured that Mick did show a lot of potential in a car that wasn't built to perform in 2021, with HAAS continuing with the 2020 model of its car in order to save money for the 2022 regulations. When the 2022 regulations finally saw the light of day, HAAS brought back Magnussen after Mazepin was sacked, and Schumacher found himself under a lot of pressure to perform, especially after Magnussen finished P5 in the first race in Bahrain. This is why Schumacher has caused massive crashes in Jeddah and Monaco, each costing the team $1 million. And even with Schumacher scoring his first career points in Silverstone and Austria, finishing P8 and P6 respectively, it wasn't enough for the team to keep him and invest in a long-term relationship with the young driver. One crucial factor as to why could be seen in HAAS's way of treating young players, as they brought in a replacement in the form of a 35-year-old veteran who hasn't really proven to be the best of drivers in his long stint in Formula One. But whether Hülkenberg will be a good choice for HAAS or not, only time will tell. Time will also tell whether HAAS is doing Schumacher a favor by firing him and releasing him from a toxic environment that has proven to be extremely limiting when it comes to developing a talent and grooming a driver into someone who will eventually bring the team podium finishes. This is something that renowned drivers like Sebastian Vettel and Ralf Schumacher have spoken about, and although they had a bit of a bias given the fact that Mick is closely related to both of them, they did hold a valid point. Now that Mick has been signed by Mercedes, it's evident that the Silver Arrows have a lot in store for the youngster. Wolff even went to the extent of saying that Steiner cannot think clearly due to the fact that he is from the mountains, meaning that the air is rare there and he has trouble thinking clearly. On top of that, Wolff said that there will always be a place for Schumacher in Mercedes because of how important Mick's father was in Mercedes' path to success. To refresh your memory, Michael Schumacher worked for Mercedes for 3 years, from 2010 to 2012, before being replaced by Lewis Hamilton, who won the team's first championship in 2014. Although Mick is far from his father's talent and success, time will tell whether he can be a champion one day. And as of now, the future does look bright for him, given the fact that he will be able to learn from one of the best, if not the best, teams that has ever existed in Formula One. This is something that Mick Schumacher spoke about too, and when talking about this matter, Mick had nothing but praise for the Brackley-based squad and was more than grateful for the opportunity offered to him. What was very interesting in his statement is the fact that he pointed out that he's made immense growth in the short time that he's been a reserve driver for the team. My dad has been a part of this team from 2010 until 2012, and obviously it was a lot of the foundations of what it is today. I'm very proud of being a part of it now, and hopefully again, I'll be able to help them go forwards and progress, and contribute my knowledge to it. The changes that are obvious since 2014, which was the last time I came here, which was a kind of sneaky visit, and do my first simulator session at the time. To see the growth in the team is immense. It shows why the team is at the standard that it is at right now. So I'm very excited to be part of it, very excited to see more of it and get to know everybody. To see that Mercedes respected Schumacher to the point of teaching him how to drive in a simulator back in 2014 when he was so young and had so much going on for him just goes to show that the team knew both of their paths would cross at one point in the future. That is why Schumacher is now taking over the reserve driver role from Van Dorn and De Vries, with the former being the reserve driver for Aston Martin and the latter securing a seat in AlphaTauri after years of winning the F2 championship back in 2019 and after years of tryouts with different teams as reserve drivers. But what is next for Schumacher? Although the young German is very happy for the opportunity that he's been presented with at Mercedes, it's far from his final goal and his final destination. Obviously, his next step would be to secure a starting spot in some team from 2024 onwards, and while many have linked him to Audi, 2026 is a long way away, and Mick may be impatient with being a reserve driver for 3 years in a row. Mercedes is a team that can definitely make some calls when it comes to arranging a seat in Williams or Aston Martin, but these teams seem to have already fixed their starting lineup for years to come. Still, silly seasons are always something that provide lots of excitement and adrenaline, which is why in the next silly season, which could take place as early as 2023, Mick could receive a starting role in a team just so that he'll be groomed for Audi in 2026. As for now, Mick is ready to take on the challenge at Mercedes, and the fact that he will be one of the only reserve drivers in Formula One next year with extensive experience of the new generation of cars that were introduced in 2022 speaks volumes about his importance to Mercedes. When talking about this matter, Mick added, "I guess it's not as common to have a reserve driver that has been driving the new era of cars. I know the new tires, I know what the car is about, what it needs also in terms of driving style. So hopefully I'll be able to contribute to that, but also see what the drivers need from the outside, and obviously simulator work is going to be very important. We have a lot to do, and hopefully I'll be able to contribute the knowledge that I have, but also gain a lot of knowledge for myself that I'll be able to use for the rest of my career and my life." Earlier this season, Mick said that young drivers do not get enough time to adapt to Formula One and to make a name for themselves, which is why he was sacked so early from HAAS. Even Gunther Steiner, the main reason Mick was fired and replaced by Hülkenberg, agreed with this, as the HAAS principal stated, "I think he's right. In racing, 2 years is a pretty good time. But there's nothing before he jumped straight from Formula 2 to Formula 1, because there's no testing. As you can see, we've not got 2 drivers with experience because young drivers cannot really take risks, and we cannot evaluate them, like McLaren is doing with Piastri. But in the end, nobody knows how good he will be in an F1 car. He was very good in F3 and F2, but it is still a big step to perform. I wouldn't say it's a problem, but it is one of these things, how much do you want to risk? But that does mean it's still a big step to perform. So obviously I think it is a little bit of a, I wouldn't say a problem, it's one of those things, how much risk you want to take with the car. Steiner has quickly turned from one of the most lovable to one of the most despised characters on the grid with the way he treated Schumacher, but we cannot make assumptions until the 2023 season starts. As of now, Mick is seatless and very eager to return to Formula One sooner rather than later. And one huge reason for him to return to Formula One is to prove to Steiner that HAAS made a mistake by sacking him. What do you think about Mick's tenure at Mercedes? Do you think that the Brackley-based squad will be a huge addition to Mick's career? Let us know in the comments below.